In the vast, ancient expanse of the African plains, where the delicate balance of nature dictates every rhythm, a profound disruption can echo through generations. For centuries, communities have coexisted with the wild, understanding its power, respecting its boundaries. But what happens when those boundaries are not just crossed, but obliterated by a primal force? This is the story of such a disruption. A narrative not merely of survival, but of the psychological siege laid upon a community and the singular determination required to reclaim peace. It began subtly, a missing goat, then a cow, almost dismissed as the inevitable toll of living alongside apex predators. But the progression was swift and chilling. Whispers of loss transformed into desperate cries as a child, then a man, vanished without a trace. The tracks left behind were unequivocal, massive, predatory, belonging to a lion unlike any they had known. This was no ordinary hunter. This was a ghost, a shadow, a beast that had transcended its natural role, having tasted human fear and found it to its liking. He was, in the chilling vernacular of the plains, a man-eater. Fear became the village's constant, suffocating companion. The vibrant laughter that once filled the air, a testament to their resilience, was replaced by a chilling silence. Doors were barred at dusk, children kept close, their innocent play confined within shrinking perimeters. Every rustle in the bush, every distant roar, sent shivers down their spines, not of awe, but of existential dread. Prayers were offered, sacrifices made, yet the killings continued, each one a fresh, indelible wound on their collective soul. Hope, once a vibrant flame, dwindled to a flicker, replaced by a gnawing, pervasive despair that threatened to consume the very spirit of the community. Their last, fragile hope arrived quietly. A man named Elias Thorne. He was not a man of many words, his presence understated, yet his reputation preceded him, carried on the wind from distant lands like a legend. His eyes, though etched with weariness, held a deep, almost primal understanding of the wild, and a resolve that burned with the steady intensity of embers. He saw the raw fear in the villagers' eyes, the vacant stares of those who had lost loved ones, and the immense weight of their desperation settled upon his shoulders. This was more than a hunt. It was a sacred duty, a moral imperative to restore a shattered equilibrium. Elias began his grim, methodical work. He studied the tracks not merely for their size, but for their intricate pattern, the subtle shifts that spoke volumes of cunning and intelligence. He listened intently to the villagers' hushed, often fragmented accounts, meticulously piecing together the beast's habits, its preferred hunting grounds, its almost supernatural ability to evade detection. The lion was a master of stealth, moving through the landscape like a phantom, striking with brutal, efficient precision before melting back into the wilderness, leaving behind only terror and unanswered questions. This was not a random predator. It was a strategist, a dark reflection of Elias's own focused, analytical mind. Days bled into nights, a relentless cycle of pursuit and evasion. Elias moved through the bush, a solitary figure, his rifle a silent extension of his unwavering will. The sun scorched his skin, the unforgiving thorns tore at his clothes, but he pressed on, driven by the spectral faces of the lost. He felt the lion's presence, a cold, primal awareness that prickled the hairs on his neck, a constant reminder of the deadly game of hide-and-seek, a dance between predator and counter-predator where the stakes were nothing less than the soul of a community. There were moments of heart-stopping tension, instances where the line between hunter and hunted blurred. Once, a sudden guttural roar erupted from a thicket, so close it vibrated through his very bones. He spun, rifle raised, but the beast was gone, leaving only the lingering scent of its raw, untamed power. Another time, he found himself staring at fresh tracks, an unnerving realization dawning upon him. The lion had circled back, watching him, perhaps even toying with him, demonstrating an almost human malevolence. The man-eater was not merely a brute force, it was an intelligent adversary, capable of psychological warfare. pushing Elias to the very limits of his endurance and mental fortitude. The exhaustion was immense, a heavy cloak that threatened to smother his resolve. Yet, the thought of the villagers, their fragile hope resting solely on his shoulders, pushed him forward. He saw the terror in their eyes, the empty spaces in their homes, and knew with absolute certainty that he could not falter. This was not about personal glory or the thrill of the chase. It was about restoring a fundamental peace, about allowing children to play outside again without the pervasive shadow of dread, about reclaiming the very essence of their lives. Then, after weeks of relentless, grueling pursuit, the moment arrived. It was near a watering hole at dawn, the air still cool and heavy with dew, a fragile calm before the storm. Elias had set a careful ambush, leveraging his profound knowledge of the lion's predictable patterns, its need for water. The great beast emerged from the mist, its powerful frame moving with silent, almost ethereal grace, its eyes, cold and ancient, scanning the horizon with an unnerving intelligence. It was magnificent, terrifying, a king of its domain, yet tragically corrupted by its insatiable taste for human flesh. Elias held his breath, the world narrowing to the precise alignment of the sights of his rifle. He saw the battle scars on the lion's flank, the raw, coiled power in its muscles, the chilling, calculating intelligence in its gaze. There was no hatred in his heart, only a grim, profound necessity. He understood, with absolute clarity, that this was the only way to break the cycle of fear, to sever the dark tether that bound the village to its tormentor. The shot echoed, a single definitive crack that shattered the morning's stillness, a sound of finality. The lion roared, a primal sound of fury and pain, a last defiant cry, and then, with a final shuddering collapse, it fell. A profound silence descended, heavier than any before, a vacuum where terror had once resided. Elias stood, rifle still raised, listening intently. The wind rustled the tall grass, and tentatively at first, then with growing confidence, the birds began to sing. The very air felt different, lighter, as if a great weight had been lifted from the land itself. He approached the fallen beast, not with triumph, but with a heavy heart, a quiet reverence. It was a magnificent creature, brought low not by weakness, but by its own terrible, unnatural choices. The immense burden that had rested upon his shoulders for weeks lifted, replaced by a quiet, profound weariness, the exhaustion of a mission fulfilled. Word spread quickly through the village, a ripple of disbelief transforming into a cautious joy, and finally, an outpouring of relief that brought tears to every eye. The fear that had gripped them for so long began to recede, like a dark tide pulling back from the shore, revealing the sunlit sands beneath. Children ventured out, their laughter tentative at first, then growing louder, more carefree, echoing through the revitalized air. Life, slowly, deliberately, began to return to its natural, harmonious rhythm, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Elias stayed only long enough to witness the first, tender signs of healing, the nascent return of normalcy. He accepted their gratitude with a simple nod, a quiet, knowing smile that spoke volumes. Then, as silently and unobtrusively as he had arrived, he departed, leaving the village to its newfound peace, a peace hard-won and deeply cherished. The plains remained vast. The wild still held its ancient secrets, but the shadow of the man-eater was gone, replaced by the enduring memory of a solitary hunter who had answered a desperate call, and in doing so, had brought not just safety, but courage itself back to a terrified land.